Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Coffee Diaries series, the series where we talk about all things blogging and photography. It's also a podcast so you can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher and SoundCloud. As usual, I've got my brew in hand, and as always I am having a nice cup of tea, although it's very hot right now so I cannot drink this at the moment, so I'll just let that cool down for a moment. Following from last week's episode, first of all, I just want to say a huge thank you to all the people who keep coming back to watch the series. I really appreciate it, and it's really what keeps the series going. So don't be afraid to leave all your questions in the comment box down below so I can tackle them in upcoming episodes. Having said that, we do have a question from last week that I'd like to talk about today, and that's all about bloggers working with agencies. So the question that was left, I'm going to go ahead and read it out. I've noticed on Instagram that some bloggers work with agencies to connect them to brands. What is your take on this? Would you advise someone to go through that route? And that's a really good question, and yes, you did notice correctly. I myself am one of those bloggers who work with agencies and other influencer networks, and it is a route I'll definitely say it's okay to go down. So basically what you have in the industry is a bunch of agencies. Think about it as a modeling agency but for bloggers. So what those agents tend to do is that they send your details, send your profile to brands, to the clients, because they have the resources to recruit those brands to register on their platforms. And I'm talking huge, big brands. You know, I've gotten to work with a lot of big brands like Dior, Instagram, to name a few, through these agencies. So they do have the resources to recruit these big brands. So what they tend to do is that they will put your profile forward to the agencies, and they will say, we think this blogger is going to be a match for this campaign that you're working on, and then the brands go ahead and say, yes, would like to book this blogger. And in exchange, what tends to happen is that the agency tends to get like a 10% fee from whatever is agreed. You ultimately get to set your rate and determine how much you would like to get paid for the campaign. I mean, the more you can haggle, obviously the more the agency would get on your behalf. But basically what you would see is a back and forth between the agency and the brand, and trying to get to a place where you're both happy with whatever is going to be agreed with the campaign and the contract that relates to the campaign at the point in time. The beauty of agencies like this is that you're not tied into a long-term contract. Say for example, all the agencies that I work with, I would say I work with 3 at the moment, they're not tying me into any contract where they say you cannot work with another agency. No, that's not how it works. And in fact, only one of them actually charges me 10%. The rest of them, I get to keep the full amount from the campaign. So I would say it is definitely a good way to find work. And I'm going to be completely honest, 80% of the work that we get when it comes to brand campaigns and other campaigns that we do that you guys don't even get to see, they've all come through those agents, because the agents in turn build a relationship with you based on them having to work with you in the past and your success rate. So what tends to happen is that they will continue to recommend you because they believe that you can deliver. And when you have that relationship going, it's easier for them to always put you forward for brand deals and brand campaigns. So in my opinion, I would definitely say it is a good way to go forward. Now, having said that, I have come across other bloggers that I'm quite close to who have shared their experience with working with some agencies, and they've not really been good. For some reason they said the agents never found them work, and I'm not quite sure why that was. But for me, I've been very lucky in the sense that all the agencies that I'm registered with continuously find work for me. So I usually tend to get booked for a minimum of 3 campaigns a week, which I think is really good in my opinion, but somebody else might think it's not so great. But I do think it's really good. But those other bloggers did struggle and say that they didn't get a lot from their agencies, and they were tied into a contract for a couple of years. So I would say before you register with an agency, go through your terms and conditions, make sure that you're okay with how long you'll be tied in for. All the ones I'm registered with, I am not tied into any contract. The only contracts that I'm tied into are the contracts that relate to the campaigns that I'm being booked for, and those are individual contracts that are separate from me having to deal with the agency exclusively. So I would say read through the contracts properly before you get yourself tied into anything. Also, I have seen a lot of people function really well without having to work with an agency. They go out there themselves and they build relationship with brands, and they make it work for themselves. But you can also build relationship with brands through working with these agencies, because one thing I've noticed is that when the agencies do book us for a campaign, we try our best to kind of like stick to the brief and sometimes even over deliver, and that in turn turns out to be a really good thing because the brand actually has to approve the final imagery and content that goes out there. So when you're super pleased with our work, what tends to happen is that the brands then bypass the agency and starts to deal with us directly, which I don't know why, but they start to deal with us directly. That way we get to build brand relationships, which has eventually turned out to work out in our favor. So I would say registering with an agency or a network is not so bad. But be careful when doing your research as to which ones to register with. A lot of the ones that I know of do not tie you into an exclusive contract. It's just a contract that is based on individual campaigns that they offer. So I would say do your research, go online. As usual, the best place to find it is Google. Just type it influencer networks or agencies and go through them and see which ones are right fit for you. The ones that I'm registered with, it's usually an invite only platform, which is why I'm not really sharing the details of them, because what they tend to do is that they approach you directly and they say, you know, we've gone through your profile, we've vetted you, and we do want to pick you to be a part of our network. Then it's up to you to sign up. In the meantime, one thing that you can do to get yourself noticed by these agencies is, as I've always said, is focus on improving your craft. Make sure you have quality content out there. Make sure you have a blog that shows your body of work. Make sure your work speaks for itself. That way it's easier for them to approach you and say, we have looked through your work and we think you're a right fit for us. Make sure you just have variety on your platform. That way you do fit into different niches that they might be able to offer. I hope I've been able to clarify as to whether or not you should sign up with an agency, or maybe not sign up with an agency. If you feel like you still have more questions, you guys know what to do. Leave your questions in the comment box down below and I'll tackle them in upcoming episodes. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, My Coffee Diaries, and also tweet us your questions if you have any. In the meantime, also follow me on my social media platforms. I do not bite. I respond to messages every now and again, and I try to respond to comments as well. So follow me on my platforms. So you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and also my blog. Everything is Mossonyi. And also, if you're new here and you've not subscribed to this channel, I'd say hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!